It's Charles Barkley with Wayfair. It's outdoor season, and my patio setup better be ready to play. That's where Wayfair wins. Patio seating, umbrellas, and grills, all delivered fast and easy. Shop wayfair.ca now.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Welcome back to the third hour of the Elias Macko Show. We're going to start off the third hour of the show by taking a look at the election campaign because you know what? This is our first show since the election kicked off yesterday. Whole bunch of promises this morning. Did you hear François Legault promising a 1% income tax cut this morning? Dominique Anglade also presenting her plan. She calls it the plan for your wallet. And she's going to knock the income tax down by 1.5% for the two lowest tax brackets. That's her plan, plus some tax breaks when it comes to Hydro-Quebec and how much money you spend on your hydroelectricity. And then in his effort to give Anglophones everywhere heart attacks, the Parti Québécois and Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, what was their big promise this morning? They're not going to win. We know that. But they are promising a new Bill 101 within 100 days if they're elected. I was like, a new bill? We just got a new Bill 101. We need another new Bill 101? Apparently, that's what the focus is. Let's talk politics. Let's talk this 43rd Quebec election campaign. Dan Delmar is on the line, co-founder of the PR and content firm TNKR Media. Hi, Dan. Welcome back.
Good morning. Welcome back, Elias, to you.
Thanks so much, Dan. I appreciate that. And you know, to me, while maybe the end result of the winner is known, I really do believe this election is so consequential with everything that can happen for all of the opposition parties. Dan, how do you view it? How consequential is this election?
It's an interesting word to describe it, consequential. I guess we'll have to see. I think it's the most politically diverse election in quite some time, maybe a generation or two. You'd have to go back to the 60s, really, when sovereignty was more off the table and you had different parties in various sectors, Union Nationale, that kind of thing. There's a lot more ideological diversity, certainly, when the referendum question was off the table. So that's going to be the big highlight for me is so many X factors in the race, Elias. I mean, obviously, there's the Conservative Party of Quebec, which has had a lot of success. But there are also the smaller parties on the Anglo side, which are X factors of their own, and could produce maybe one or two small holes on the island of Montreal for the Liberals, which would be certainly different.
Dan, let's talk about those parties and just how much of an impact they can have, because that's the one thing we haven't discussed this morning on the program. Canadian Party of Quebec, Bloc Montréal, and I look at these parties. And, there's some sort of mindset that I've got that you'd think if you're François Legault, you'd give donations to these parties because they're making the life of the Liberals very difficult on the island of Montreal. So how does that shake out, Dan? And of course, even off-island as well. Canadian Party of Quebec is going to have candidates off-island as well.
There's so many interesting sub-dynamics because of this diversity that we're talking about. I would also note that the Bloc Québécois has sort of stuck their nose in and I believe was trying to get the Bloc Montréal to change their name.
Yes, they lost, though. They lost that attempt, yeah.
Which is hilarious because to me that was more of a PR move, right? It's a move to boost the credibility, boost the visibility of Bloc Montréal. Why would the sovereignists want to do that? Well, because it actually takes away votes from the Liberals. So that was quite clever for me. I didn't expect them to actually get anywhere with it, but it was a clever move on their part. And so the CAQ definitely wants minority rights to be discussed within Anglophone media this election. They want Balarama and Colin Standish to sort of get in there and mix it up and take some of those votes away from the Liberals. And I've been watching both of them very closely, and certainly when it comes to Balarama Holness and Colin Standish, I can only applaud millennials who just get out there and put themselves up for election. That's generally good news. The bad news for them, however, is that they just did not give themselves enough time to form a cohesive party and to put a vision out there. And when you don't have the time to sort of get to know Quebecers, and you don't have the time for Quebecers to get to know you, really, the thing that you're relying on as you approach an election are star candidates. And that's what I was watching for in the last few weeks. And I'm not seeing any star candidates from Balarama or Colin that are going to make up for that attention deficit that is due to the fact that they're just new. So my thinking is you're going to watch for the star candidates, and I think there's a couple here and there. Certainly at the CAQ, Conservatives have some, Liberals have a couple, and those ridings are going to be interesting. But the smaller parties, I don't think are going to have a huge impact at the end of the day. Maybe the leaders get elected, but they just don't have the star power for it.
And Dan, to your point there, I think there's a bit of over-promise, under-deliver happening on that front, because there was talk, we're going to have, you just wait, we're going to have some surprising candidates, some star candidates, and that hasn't materialized. Having said that, Dan, at the end of the day, what will these parties, what will their impact be? And do you think, I have this unfortunate suspicion that their impact will be splitting the vote to an extent that even opens the door for the CAQ to win more ridings on the island of Montreal.
That is one scenario. I think there have to be a lot of vote splitting to go on to elect a CAQ person in NDG, for example, or in the middle of Montreal. That would have to be significant, and I don't think that either the Bloc Montréalais or the Canadian Party will have the kind of traction to finish top three in ridings across the island necessarily. That's going to be a good result for them if they're able to disrupt that much. But no, I wouldn't worry about them playing kingmaker so much. I think the concern is simply to sort of take away votes from the Liberal Party, mix things up a little bit, making it a very confusing election for a lot of people. But I think at the end of the day, as we get closer to voting time, you're still going to see a mostly red Liberal Montreal. I could think of one or two ridings maybe that may succumb to sort of a protest vote, but generally I don't think they're actually going to have the impact that they hoped.
What are those ridings that you think, if that maybe there could be an impact?
One, I mean, my friend Bonnie Feigenbaum is running for Darcy McGee right now, and full disclosure, she does contribute to our company, TNKR Media, and I'm without a public affairs consultant for a few weeks, hopefully, so I have mixed feelings about that. I would like Bonnie back at work, but at the same time, she'd make a
Dan,
great MP.
Let me just tell you something here. So Darcy McGee, right, last election, this is the riding, 75% Liberal David Birnbaum, right? So, I mean, but really, do you think a riding like Darcy McGee, there could be a surprise there, a riding that was 75% Liberal the last time?
I think it's probably going to go Liberal. My prediction would be that most ridings in Montreal will remain Liberal. But since you asked, I mean, if I had to pick one, I would say that one might be the case because Bonnie's known. She's a known quantity. She has more name recognition than any of her opponents there. So I think if Anglos are looking for a protest vote, someone like Bonnie or like Balarama would be natural places to park their vote. So I wouldn't expect it to happen necessarily, but if it's going to happen, it could happen in a place like NDG or Saint-Luc.
I've asked this question in the first hour of this program when it comes to François Legault. If you're his strategist, if you're his consultant, do you tell him, stand back, just watch the election happen and take the win, take the W? Or do you tell him, you know what, if you go on the attack, you could win 100-plus seats. Go on the offensive. Don't stand back. Be seen and heard as much as possible. What would you tell François Legault?
Oh, that's an easy one. That would be the first option for sure. Sit back, act as if basically François Legault is a caretaker, which I think that's what he is essentially in this era of Quebec politics. I call it very much a quiet consensus period as we shift from a more federalist, sovereignist dynamic to a more natural nationalist, internationalist dynamic, and sort of the phasing out of that traditional sovereignty movement is the era that François Legault is presiding over. So he has to be a responsible steward for Quebecers during that era. I think he has to sit back and be the person at the center of a 5, 6, 7 ring circus and just watch everything happen, watch the parties fight it out. And if he's able to do that and maintain his discipline throughout the campaign, I think he'll come back with a fairly similar result than what we have now.
Caretaker, as you put it, I've always put it as Papa Legault, right? The fatherly figure of Quebec right now. Last thing, Dan, quickly on this one. For the Liberal Party of Quebec, lots to repair. 7% amongst Francophones, the lowest numbers they've seen amongst non-Francophones that I can remember as well. What does Dominique Anglade have to do?
Show us something. I would say it's a good start. I think she showed some gumption with the retort about La Madame a un plan.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was great. This is someone who co-founded the CAQ. I mean, this is kind of an interesting election, or at least it should be. The narrative should be, this is someone who founded a party with François Legault. They were close friends. They worked together to found this movement. What happened along the way?
Yes.
Was it the ethnocentrism? This was around the time the controversy was happening with Sikh kids playing soccer.
Yes, that's right.
Ridiculous,
the soccer,
insane.
yeah.
Dominique Anglade left shortly after that. What was the drama there? What happened behind the scenes? Quebecers want to know. We want to know. It speaks to Dominique Anglade's credibility, right? She left this party. What happened, Dominique? What was the issue there that made you leave? And why are you so shy to talk about it? So I want to see that from her. I want to see some fight, and I want to see certainly the aforementioned plan. And I think if she's able to show a lot of discipline and, frankly, some federalist liberal values and stand up for Quebec's diversity, I think she'll be surprised at how much success she has electorally, because right now there are a lot of federalist votes and a lot of cosmopolitan votes that are being left on the table by a whole bunch of small little parties that aren't doing a good job picking them up.
Dan, you're making me think this morning, because maybe I should be asking about why isn't Dominique Anglade on the out-and-out offensive, going for the jugular type of deal right now. Dan, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much for kicking off the election analysis with us this morning.
Of course, always a pleasure.
That's Dan Delmar, co-founder of the PR and content firm TNKR Media.